Welcome to The Chop, and in this episode we have the fall of Snatch Game, how it happened and why. And at the end, some more charts and speculations as usual. Snatch Game is the quintessential drag race challenge. Historically, queens that have been doing well in this challenge usually also do well in the competition. It's one of the most beloved and influential challenges on RuPaul's Drag Race. Chances are that what first introduced you to Drag Race in the first place was either a lip sync for your life, a read from the library, or a Snatch Game performance. So, what did go wrong? First of all, let's establish some background. I will try to be as quick as possible with this. Now, this was a non-elimination episode, another non-elimination episode, and as you know by this point, the number of episodes for each season is locked in place before filming even begins, which for season 14 means last year. World of Wonder is the company that produces RuPaul's Drag Race, while VH1 is the network that airs RuPaul's Drag Race in the US, and basically foots the bill for the whole thing. Last year, VH1 renewed Drag Race for season 14, with the requirement of a specific number of episodes. So, no matter what happens, the number of episodes of the season must match the number of episodes ordered by VH1. Why is this so important? Well, because the network has to create a herring schedule for its programming, and it needs to do so in advance. It's not only a matter of being organized, there is a monetary incentive to that. VH1 gets most of its money by selling advertisement spots for commercial breaks. So, it's important that advertisers know in advance which spots are available, in which kind of programming, which day, and at which time. The sooner you create your programming schedule, the sooner advertisers can start bidding against each other for the best spots. And once a spot is secured and paid for, the job of the network is to deliver the right programming at the right time. That's why advertising spots are usually booked months in advance, but for very big events, like the Super Bowl for example, it could even be much before. So we are talking about literally millions of dollars for every episode of Drag Race that airs. But in order to get all of those sweet coins, VH1 must first be able to offer a stable schedule and as soon as possible, which means World of Wonder has to deliver the exact number of episodes ordered, independently of how much they decide to mess with the season. They can just randomly add a non-elimination episode, for example, and then call it a day. Because every time No Queens goes home, it adds an additional episode to the season, and one way or the other, everything needs to balance out. So let me ask you, what do you think is the most reliable way to make everything balance out? Well, for me, that would be to decide as much as you can before the season even begins filming. You don't want to reach the last episode with a top 6, for example, instead of a top 4. You need to have a top 4. Now, the episode order for this season was most likely 16 episodes, like it happened for season 13. Snatch Game was another non-elimination episode, and as you learned, you cannot just randomly add one of those. So it's safe to conclude they needed an additional episode for their season order. Now, why exactly Snatch Game? Personally, I can only see two possible options. Either the producers waited for an episode with very bad performances to happen, and Snatch Game turned out to be what they were waiting for. Or number two, they did everything they could to make Snatch Game go downhill by directly interfering and then adding some editing magic later on to make it look even worse. Spoiler alert! I think the answer is somewhere in the middle. Since Snatch Game is notably a very easy challenge to bomb, the producers probably knew it would offer a perfect opportunity for placing their twist. First of all, let me ask you, what does it take for having a good Snatch Game performance? Because for me, I would start dividing everything in two big categories. One are the things that the queens can actually control, and the other are the things that they cannot control. Among the things that a queen can control, there is the preparation that they do for the challenge and the performance itself. Snatch Game is not easy. It takes a ton of preparation, a good choice of character, the ability to improvise by interacting with other characters, with RuPaul, by having good answers. It takes a good comedic sense, but most importantly, a good delivery and timing. No matter how good your jokes are, if your delivery and timing are all wrong, you will definitely end up killing even the best jokes. And on top of this, The queens must be able to convey the celebrity that they are impersonating, either by looking like them, replicating their mannerism, or both. It doesn't have to be a one-on-one impersonation. As long as the character is recognizable, that is good enough already. You also don't need to choose a funny character to begin with, because more often than not, the opposite is actually true. Exaggerating a character somehow creates a level of absurdity that works very well with the comedic tone of the challenge. I mean, think of memorable performances like Jinx Monsoon as Little Edie. Edie was not a comedian, her story was actually a tragic one, but it worked. Because Jinx was able to create that level of absurdity that worked very well with the character. And many other fantastic performances manages to do the same. You can almost argue that some of the best Snatch Game performances are from characters that are not funny to begin with. So it doesn't really matter which celebrity you decide to impersonate. The important thing is that you manage to be funny. Also, Snatch Game films for a long time. Way longer than what we see on screen, and you need to stay concentrated and in character and on point the entire time. If you manage to do all of this, then you maximize your chances to do good. Everything else is out of your control. This makes all of the difference for me. RuPaul is a producer. If Ru decides that you are not funny, you are done. You are really done. The purpose of the challenge is stated as make RuPaul laugh. So it doesn't matter how good or bad you are, your faith is in her hands. And Ru and the guests can greatly influence your performance by actively either helping, by laughing, interacting with you, setting up jokes with you, or they can sabotage you by never laughing at anything, bitch-facing, staring, being silent, or being difficult to interact with. Being funny is really difficult, but being funny when no one is laughing, it's nearly impossible. It will affect your morale, your trust in your choices, it will destroy your confidence and effectively cause you to tank even deeper. And the opposite is also true, because if you see people laughing and engaging with you, you get a kind of positive reinforcement that fills you with confidence. It makes you feel comfortable, it makes it easy to let go and just have some good fun. And if you have fun, we are most likely to have fun with you as well. Editing can convincingly elevate or tank your performance. Make no mistake, RuPaul is a producer, so whatever she does during Snatch Game will most definitely be complemented afterwards during editing. So if they want to portray you in a positive way, then laughs will be added to your performance, you will have happy music in the background, there will be confessionals praising you, even your timing can be altered to make it look like you're quick and funny. And if you have any bad moments, don't worry, because this can be easily edited out. But if they decided that you are not going to look very good during your performance, then if you had any laughs, those can be easily removed. Any good jokes can be removed. You will see shady noises appearing in the background, accompanied by some nice tense music, maybe some bad confessionals, or dead moments of complete silence. Even your timing can be altered to make your answer kind of look out of place. And don't forget the power of editing. Snatch Game is most likely filmed in the course of 1 to 2 hours. What we get is 10 to 15 minutes. The question is, in good or bad, what is it that is left out? So, in conclusion, if the producers wanted to add an additional episode and chose Snatch Game to do so, then this was a very easy choice. Snatch Game hasn't been good in years, in my opinion. Sometimes you might get a joke here and there, but more often than not, I find myself watching RuPaul laughing hysterically for little to no reason. I mean, yes, it's a very difficult challenge to begin with, and the fact that we are getting younger and younger queens makes it even more difficult. Most of them cannot rely on years and years of onstage experience, making mistakes, learning from them, and then all over and over again until they become kind of refined comedians, if you will. Also, since season 7, the show kind of switched to casting more look queens, heavily relying on the fashion side of the competition. Hence the always present critique, it looks costumey, with Michelle, of course. And look queens are not comedians. That's not what they specialize on. They are specialized on looks. So for all of these reasons, in the past years, Snatch Game has almost always been kind of a letdown for me, on average. You will still see 1 or 2 good queens here and there, but on average, the quality has really gone downhill. And that's why I believe that it offered the perfect opportunity to create the narrative that everyone bombed. Since this is basically a stand-up challenge, modulating RuPaul's and the guests' reaction can effectively sabotage the queen's performances in real time, and then by exaggerating the editing later on, you can easily convince everyone that this Snatch Game was the worst we have ever seen. But if you look back, I think that you might start to see many different hints that something didn't quite add up. For example, when RuPaul came in the workroom announcing the Maxi Challenge for the episode, she said something very interesting.
You choose a celebrity to impersonate, and you make us laugh out loud. I mean, what could go wrong? What could go wrong?
Why would she say something like that? With a smirk on her face. I mean, it doesn't prove anything. One instance doesn't prove anything. But still, it kind of makes you think. So let's see if we can find some other strange things happening. During Snatch Game, RuPaul and the judges are rarely laughing, even to genuinely funny jokes. They have a little bit of laugh in the beginning, then they go completely blank. Also, in the beginning, during the introduction, RuPaul immediately threw Willow under the bus. Usually when RuPaul interacts with a contestant, especially during the introduction, it's to add something. It's, for example, to set up a joke. But not with Willow, she corrected her, which seems to have completely threw her off her game.
Thank you, Drew. That is lovely. I guess you forgot that we worked together for a whole summer on another show.
During the whole Snatch Game, we have a ton of negative confessionals, shady noises, background music, everyone basically looking as if they are either cringing or bitch-facing. All of this is dialed to 100. And most of the negative confessionals come from Deja. And this is very important because she's the one doing good. And since she is doing good, this kind of gives legitimacy to her words. If she's the one saying that somebody else is not funny, then we naturally tend to believe her a little bit more than if it came, for example, from a queen that it's not being very funny, because maybe that queen could be bitter because she's not doing good. Deja is more credible. I also found very curious the way Bosco was edited. I liked her performance. I thought she was not as good as Deja, but very close to it. First of all, she sounded nothing like Gwyneth Paltrow, which was already hilarious for me. But already in the very beginning, she took it to the next level with this joke.
I'm kind of taking a break from acting, and I'm focusing more on my business, Droop.
What do you call it?
Droop. It is what we can say on television without getting sued for mentioning my actual company.
I thought that this joke was genius. She was not only playing up with the character, she was also making a joke about the fact that they were on a TV show that tries its best to never mention someone else's brand, especially if they're going to joke about it. It's very rare that we see a queen actually break the fourth wall without paying any consequences for it. And then the kombucha joke was disgustingly hilarious. I think it was really good. It was so good that even Deja was interacting with her. But what did we get? We got shady music, bitch-facing, a confessional of Camden complaining that she was not getting it, clearly coming from another context because, come on, the joke it's pretty clear. And at some point, Camden even moved at the speed of light in order to change position and look confused at Bosco's joke.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Cup spilleth over.
Even Jorgeous, they even went for Jorgeous. She had that one joke, that one good joke.
I would have to say...
That was her moment to shine. She didn't even get to get that. Not even Jorgeous got a pass. On top of this, it seems like Angeria had way more jokes than what we actually saw on screen. Almost as if the edit was trying to make her look a little bit one note.
You chose one of the most entertaining queens, right? Tammy Brown.
Oh, yeah.
She's got so much to offer, and I felt like you just kind of kept it one note.
Then back in the workroom, instead of the usual mirror moments, what we get are four queens thinking that they did bad. Jorgeous, Bosco, Willow, and Jasmine. Why did they think they did bad? Well, it's probably their opinion, but which kind of signal made them think that they didn't do that good? Because the queens are not the ones that are supposed to laugh while they perform. They have to be in character. So the only feedback that goes to them is the one coming from RuPaul and from the judges. Not even the runway was saved, because according to RuPaul, the runway theme was wholly couture, but everybody else pretty much agrees that the queens might have been given a similar but kind of different assignment. Almost as if the real theme of the runway was worship. Now, this is not something that I came up with. I read it on Twitter. Unfortunately, I didn't do a screen grab, so whoever you are, I'm sorry that I cannot mention you. But looking back at the episode, you can see the word worship mentioned multiple times. You see it from Willow during the non-mirror moments, and she uses the word worship to describe a runway.
I worship mushrooms because I think they're just the coolest organism on the planet.
You hear it from Deja during a runway.
I'm not religious or anything, but I can look up and worship a bad bitch.
You hear it from Camden, again during her runway.
What does Lady Camden worship? The Spice Girls, obviously, bitch!
Jasmine defines a runway as something meaningful for her, which, for me, it's way closer to worship than holy.
I have looked to my horoscope for many big decisions in my life, so why not show something that is very meaningful to me?
So you see all of these references that points to the fact that the queens might have been given a different assignment than the one that we saw as viewers. And this is not the first time that something like this has happened on this show. Then in Untucked, Angeria even confirmed that it was kind of a strange experience.
It did feel a little weird, like kind of when to do it, you know?
But what makes it even stranger is that at some point, Bosco said,
What I took away from it is that, like, the rules that were set there were there to guide us, but if you are funny, they don't give a fuck if you broke the rules. They did seem to think that, like, all of you are quick enough and smart enough to be able to do something, and you didn't find the right vehicle. Rules be damned, is kind of how I interpreted it.
What rules, Bosco? What are you talking about? Were the queens given rules off screen that we didn't see? What was it? What is this about? What rules? Wait before interacting with others? Don't speak unless RuPaul tells you to? Which rules is she referring to? Because we have no other clues of those. What does she mean by this? I don't think we're going to get an answer to that. And by the way, I want to thank Gothboy UK for giving us a heads up on this Untucked. Now that you know all of this, go back and rewatch the episode with this mindset of looking for hints and see for yourself. Let's move on to the speculations. First of all, in a season of 14 queens, we would usually get 12 episodes, 10 competing episodes plus a reunion and the finale. But considering that the episode order was most likely 16, in that case you need to add 4 additional non-elimination episodes. So you have premiere 1, premiere number 2, a double shantay, and the golden ticket twist, whatever it is. The problem is, at some point Cornbread left the competition unexpectedly, so on top of the 4 non-elimination episodes you need to add a 5th to make up for the fact that you basically add 1 contestant less. Problem is, until now we have had 6 non-elimination episodes, which means that at some point we are definitely going to get a double elimination. And all of this, of course, adds to the shock value of the season. It maximizes the interest in the season. Why? Well, because 4 non-elimination episodes can be pretty boring, can really slow down a season. And if you add the shoddy productions on top, it really makes the season almost feel like a chore. Now, until now, we had 10 episodes. Half of those were non-elimination episodes. That's why this season feels like it's never ending. That's why there is a need for these kind of twists and turns. Now, please don't get confused, I put the golden ticket episode marked as episode 14, but only to make the chart look a little bit more clear, since it's basically 1 additional episode. But it can happen anywhere between episode 11 and episode 14. And the same goes for the double elimination. Now, the golden ticket, I think it's most likely to happen between episode 11 and episode 13, because for me it would make really no sense to have it happen in the last episode. We know it's going to be a top 4, so if you eliminate someone and are left with a top 3, Of course, they're going to have the golden ticket because we need a top 4. You have seen this chart already if you are on Patreon. Otherwise, you've probably seen it last week when I did my collaboration with Yuki. This is something that I've been working on for a very long time. I actually started doing it after season 13 when I started to realize that the confessional chart wasn't really that helpful anymore. It started becoming less and less effective, almost as if they were starting to kind of making things a little bit more random. So at some point during All Stars, I thought of a different way to rank the queens. So I came out with this chart, which is called the Marble Ranks, in memory of our sweet little Marble. This chart has proven to be very effective in telling you who is going to go home next. Should I make a video and show how it's made so that everyone can make it? But if I do that before season 15 starts filming, they might maybe take countermeasures. So I also made a post in the community section of the channel. Let me know what you want to do with it, and after the video comes out, I'll tally it all together and make a video, if I make a video, or wait until season 15 and then make a video. As you can see, Jasmine is in last place with 24.5 points. The difference between her and Deja, it's almost as much as the difference between Deja and Angeria. And Angeria is the first one, Deja was the second to last. So, considering that of the 4 queens eliminated before, the chart got it perfectly right and with way less margin of error, for me there is no question. Jasmine is going home. I know, it sounds crazy, but I started believing the chart. On top of that, Jasmine already had a mirror moment, which makes her a very good candidate to go home. On top of that, her storyline with Diabetes already got old like 3 weeks ago. There is really not much to add to that. There is only so much that you can make to make Diabetes look continuously shady toward Jasmine and make Jasmine as if she is offended. Those are all good reasons to basically point that she's the one going home. Now, she's the one going home during a lip sync challenge. So if this is true, when we watch the next episode, please take a very good look on how they edit the lip syncs. Because if all of this is going to come through, you will be able to spot the editing magic live while watching the entire episode. So please keep an eye on that. If Jasmine is not the one going home, then maybe Diabetes is the one going home, or maybe Deja at this point. No, Deja cannot go next episode because she's the winner. She's not even going to lip sync. So it's either going to be Jasmine or Diabetes, and finally breaking this tie that they had together. But for me, Diabetes is not going anywhere. And by the way, I have a new name for Diabetes edit. You remember when I told you, Diabetes edit is so strange. What is she? Is she a villain? Is she an underdog? Because she is not a redeemed villain, but she's kind of acting villainous. But we can kind of see her having fun. She's more like being shady. She's not really villainous. So I came out with a new editing archetype, specifically thanks to Diabetes. And don't get it wrong, most of the editing archetype are things that have existed in literature for literally years. A couple of others that you hear everywhere originated here, just so you know, because nobody ever quotes. But so, for me, the new archetype is going to be the Heather. Diabetes is getting the Heather edit. The queen who is shady, but it's not a villain. The queen who is shady, but it's having some fun while being shady. The queen that is shady, but it's still good enough to maybe even go all the way to the top. She is the Heather. Among all of them, we have a new archetype. So, thank you, Diabetes. I mean, it doesn't happen often, but I'm really happy to add things to that. What else do we have? Let's talk about Deja, because last time I said that Deja for me is basically ready to go home. Now, Deja for me still doesn't really have a chance to go anywhere near the top 4. Why am I saying that? Well, personally, I like Deja. She's a ton of fun, and she's also one of the few queens who actually messaged me and had a talk with. So I'm like, oh my god, thank you so much. It's not a personal judgment, it's more an objective one. There have been so many chances for production to reward her during the competition, and it was passed on time after time after time after time. Now, it's episode 10 and she got a win, but it's way too late in the competition to make her a silent assassin. That queen that lays low for a good chunk of the competition and then suddenly rises and rises all the way to the top. It's way too late for that. They passed on too many opportunities. Since she is not going home next, she is my prediction for the episode after. And then after that, we are left with 6 queens, and I have no idea what the hell they are going to do. I still stay true to my former predictions, so Angeria, Willow for sure in the top 4 for me. Bosco was basically confirmed last episode. Don't forget everything that went on in episode 9. And Jorgeous is our young and talented. Thank you so much for watching the video and staying with me for all of this incredible mess. If you heard my voice kind of change from time to time, it's because the audio from the live stream was not that good and I actually had to re-record a ton of this video, which is a lot of fun, especially when you don't have much time at hand. Anyway, as usual, a very special thanks to our patrons. Thank you so much for your support. If you would like to support the channel, of course, the link is in the video description. I will see you back on Sunday for the next live stream, and in the next day I will be finishing something special for our mousies. Thank you so much for watching, have a great week, and I will see you soon.